Welcome home, girls, gays, and theys. I just wanted to pop up before this compilation to specify some things that were floating around the comment section when these videos were originally posted to TikTok. First of all, I am not a Trump supporter. Second of all, my criticism of Biden says nothing about whether or not I support Trump, which again, absolutely. If anybody calls me anything related to a Trump supporter, I will cry, so please don't, it'll hurt my feelings. Third of all, we need to start holding Democrats accountable in the way that we hold Republicans accountable. As left-wing people, we need to criticize our own political party's leaders, because that's how we advance our political party. Holding our own candidates accountable makes them do better. I'm going to criticize anyone who needs to be criticized. And I criticize myself all the time. That's how we grow. That's how we help our political parties grow. That's how we grow ourselves. It's how we help other people grow, is holding them accountable. It's important. So enjoy this compilation of vertical videos on a horizontal platform. Anyways, peace and love.
In this series, I'll be covering the 8 accusations of inappropriate behavior by Joe Biden. Ms. Reed worked for Biden in his office from 1992 to 1993. She worked there for 10 months. She came forward in April 2019 about inappropriate behavior and touching. She said in a 2019 interview, quote, "He used to put his hand on my shoulder and run his finger up my neck." She said in this interview she didn't feel like she was a victim of sexualization, instead of comparing it to being like an inanimate object, like a lamp. A year later in 2020, she actually updated her original statement, stating that he also sexually assaulted her in 1993. The reaction she received in 2019 from the first part of her story was extremely negative all around. She says this is the reason she didn't tell the full story originally. This is extremely common in cases of sexual assault. Coming forward about something like this is terrifying, especially when you know people aren't going to believe you because of what the situation is. It took her time to be able to tell the rest of the story. In this series, I'm covering the accusations of inappropriate behavior by Joe Biden. This is part 2 on the story of Tara Reid. In part 1, we ended off with the information that she updated her original allegation and came forward about him sexually assaulting her. In May of 2020, she filed a police report about the assault. Biden claims he doesn't remember her, but he believes that she could have worked there because she was only an employee for 10 months and he has a large office. Reid came forward saying she filed a complaint in spring 1993, not about the assault, but about the harassment she was facing from him. But no one, including herself, has been able to locate the document, unfortunately. Biden has been very adamant from the beginning that he wants the document to be found immediately and released to the public. He also said, quote, "When a woman makes a claim that she's been harassed or abused, and this claim has changed and it's gone on, she should be taken seriously. She comes forward and shares her story. She should be taken seriously." In part 3, I'll be going over where this document will be found and why it hasn't been yet. The 8 Women, Part 3. At the end of Part 2, we left off in a discussion about the document that Biden and Tara Reid both really want to be found. The document would prove that Ms. Reid reported sexual harassment in 1993, but not sexual assault. Joe Biden is not resisting it being found and is even telling the public how much that he wants it to be found and released to the public. He also helped the general population understand by saying multiple times in interviews that if the document could be found, it would be at the National Archives, which is controlled by the Senate Secretary. The Senate Secretary has told Biden and Reid's legal teams that they can't locate this complaint and they couldn't release it even if they found it anyways. If the Senate Secretary did find this document at the National Archives, the most that they could do is confirm that it exists to the public, which would be enough. During my research for this, I found a lot of statements made by fellow Democrats about the location of the assault being too public for it to have happened. But on this page, we believe survivors. Statistically, the chances that they're lying to save Joe are a lot higher than her lying. Biden, the 8 Women, Part 4. Lucy Flores. Lucy Flores is a former Nevada lieutenant governor nominee. In 2014, at a campaign event, Biden kissed her on the back of the head during a congratulation. She mentioned that it went on a moment too long, and she remembers feeling embarrassed and shocked at the time. She said, quote, "I wanted nothing more than to get Biden away from me." In response, Biden claimed he had no memory of having acted inappropriately, but added that if he was wrong, he would listen respectfully and was gravely sorry to have made her uncomfortable. The next woman I'm talking about is Amy LaPose. LaPose was a congressional aide for the U.S. Representative Jim Himes in 2009. Biden touched and rubbed his nose against hers during a political fundraiser. She recalled the incident saying, quote, "It wasn't sexual, but he did grab my head. He put his hand around my neck and pulled me to rub my nose. When he was pulling me in, I thought he was going to kiss me on the mouth." There seems to be a pattern here of his lack of awareness for personal space, especially when trying to congratulate people at events. The 8 Women, Part 5. DJ Hill and Caitlin Caruso. In a New York Times article, these 2 women came forward together about Joe Biden's workplace harassment. Biden rested his hand on DJ Hill's shoulder and started to move it down her back, which left her feeling, quote, very uncomfortable. Caitlin Caruso is giving a speech at the University of Nevada when Biden hugged her for, quote, just a little bit too long and laid his hand on her thigh. The New York Times reported Biden's behavior as political tactics after further investigation. Political tactics is a fairly new term. Essentially, it means acting differently in front of certain political figures to gain their respect. Being a centrist means that he does need to win over some right-wing candidates. A running theme in Biden's 8 allegations is them happening at work or in a communal-type space. He would be around Republicans. The New York Times is basically saying he was acting this way in front of right-wing coworkers that he needed to win over. And these oversteppings of personal space were helpful in achieving this persona in front of them. This would mean his use of the struggles women go through is to benefit his own career, contributing to rape culture for nothing more than acceptance from right-wingers. The 8 Women, Part 6. Sofia Karasik. In 2016, Sofia Karasik was photographed holding hands and touching foreheads with Biden at the Oscars before she went on stage, where she stood alongside 50 other sexual assault survivors during Lady Gaga's performance. Before they went on stage together, Karasik opened up to the vice president, saying that she had been thinking about all the women and men who weren't there because they had been taking their own lives due to sexual assault. She began to cry and tell him that she hopes others feel less alone, and she hoped the performance would save one life. That's when Biden stooped down, clasped her hands, and rested his forehead on hers, and told her that's why her bravery that night would be so important. She recalled the incident saying, quote, "He had a really emotional reaction. I was surprised. Because there were so many people in the room, there was a photo taken of this as it was a moving moment. It looked like a moving moment to publications around the country who printed it in their magazines." But Karasik later told the public that she wished Biden had asked for permission before the well-intentioned embrace, especially because of her past in reference to a rape incident she experienced at Berkeley University, leaving her with PTSD. I feel the same way. The 8 Women, Part 7. First, I'm talking about Vale Cohert-Yount. Ms. Vale was a White House intern in the spring of 2013. Joe Biden put his hand on the back of her head and pressed his forehead against hers when he introduced himself. She recalled the incident saying, quote, "I was so shocked that it was hard to focus on what he was saying." The next woman I'm talking about is Amy Cole. This incident happened in 2008. Biden squeezed her shoulders, complimented her smile, and held her for a bit too long. She recalled her initial reaction being, quote-unquote, shrugging it off. But she told the Washington Post that she now feels the incident was inappropriate. She gave a very eloquent statement in the article saying, quote, "There's been a lack of understanding about the way that power can turn something that might seem innocent into something that can make somebody feel uncomfortable." She told the Washington Post that she doesn't believe Biden's actions constituted sexual misconduct. She described it as kind of inappropriate behavior that makes many women feel uncomfortable and unequal in the workplace. And she's right, we shouldn't have to feel this way at work. The 8 Women, Part 8. In Part 7, we talked about the 7th and 8th woman, so this is wrapping up the series. First of all, as with all the content I make, I also make a master document of the facts and sources. If you'd like that, it's in the link in my bio. Second of all, I need to address some things that have happened because of this series. The first of which being people commenting the rhetoric of Joe Biden being a pedophile. Anyone who watches my content knows that I do completely unbiased research for weeks and weeks before I make something on any topic. During my extensive research on this subject, I found absolutely zero evidence of him being a pedophile in any way. Accusing people of being a pedophile when there's actual pedophiles out there that need to be talked about is so damaging. Because of this disgusting response to this series, my next series is going to be on Jane Doe. That's the pseudonym for the 13-year-old who was raped by Trump. The court document from her court date has been leaked, and I'm going over the entire thing. If you want to start off by seeing that court document, that's also in my bio. My first video about Jane Doe is up in the morning.